Congratulations, you just challenged the deadliest species in the galaxy. Part 1. The Challenge. The massive council chamber floated in the void of space, a monument to galactic cooperation built by 100 different species over 3,000 years. Inside, representatives from 72 civilizations gathered for their monthly assembly. The air hummed with dozens of different breathing patterns and the soft whisper of translation devices converting alien languages into something each species could understand. Ambassador Hyun sat in the human section, a small area near the back that reflected humanity's junior status in galactic politics. He was a thin man with graying hair and calm eyes that rarely showed emotion. Next to him, his assistant Mina tapped notes into her data pad, her face expressionless despite the tension building in the room. The Vraxian delegation occupied prime positions near the center platform. They were massive beings, each standing nearly 3 meters tall with thick scales covering their bodies like natural armor. Their empire controlled 12 star systems and had crushed every opponent they faced in the last 200 years. War was their culture, conquest was their pride, and today they were looking for their next victim. Krell, the Vraxian ambassador, rose from his seat. His shadow fell across half the room. Battle scars covered his face and arms, each one a badge of honor in his culture. When he spoke, his voice was like grinding stone. The human delegation claims ownership of the Terminus Belt, Krell announced, his words echoing through the chamber. This asteroid field rich in rare minerals belongs to the Vraxian Empire by right of proximity and power. Yet these newcomers, these soft creatures who joined our council only 50 years ago, dare to dispute our claim. Several species shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Vraxians were testing again as they always did. They would push and threaten until someone pushed back, and no one ever pushed back because no one wanted war with the Vraxians. Krell's eyes fixed on the human section with undisguised contempt. I formally challenge the human delegation to military confrontation. In 30 days our fleets will meet at the Terminus Belt. Whoever controls the space after one day of battle will claim the territory. Unless, of course, the humans wish to withdraw now and avoid the humiliation of. We accept your challenge. The voice was quiet but perfectly clear. Ambassador Hyun stood slowly, buttoning his jacket with steady hands. His face showed no fear, no anger, nothing but professional courtesy. The chamber fell absolutely silent. Even the translation devices seemed to pause in shock. Krell stared at the human. You accept? You understand what I am offering? This is military combat. This is war. Yes, Ambassador Krell. We understand perfectly. We accept your challenge. 30 days. The Terminus Belt. May we have the terms recorded officially? A ripple of surprise moved through the assembled species. The Merchant Alliance representatives began calculating trade disruption costs. The peaceful assembly delegates looked horrified. And in the highest observation deck, where the archivists maintained their eternal watch over galactic affairs, two ancient beings exchanged significant glances. They do not know, the first archivist whispered in a language older than most civilizations. The Vraxians have not studied the humans. Should we intervene? Asked the second. No. The humans passed all our evaluations before joining. They were honest about their capabilities, within the limits of our questions. If the Vraxians chose not to investigate further, that is their error. Back in the main chamber, Krell was already celebrating. He turned to his military commanders and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. Prepare the fleet. All 300 warships. We will crush them in the first hour and barely need to expend ammunition. His subordinates laughed, a sound like rocks tumbling down a mountain. Mina leaned close to Ambassador Hyun and whispered. Sir, they outnumber our known forces 6-1. The council will expect traditional combat. Hyun's expression never changed, but his eyes held something cold and ancient. They challenged us, Mina. They chose war over negotiation. Now they will learn why humanity spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of survival. Across the chamber, other species were watching the human delegation with new interest. Some looked curious, others looked concerned. The archivists looked satisfied as if a long-anticipated lesson was finally about to begin. The challenge was recorded in the official logs. The date was set. In 30 days, the Vraxian Empire would face humanity in open combat. They expected prey. They were about to meet predators. Part 2, Hubris and History. Commander Vex stood in the war room of the Vraxian flagship, studying the holographic display with satisfaction. The three-dimensional map showed the Terminus Belt in blue, with red markers indicating the positions of 300 Vraxian warships. Tiny green dots represented the human fleet, Exactly 50 vessels, just as their intelligence predicted. 50 ships, Vex said, his scaled hand sweeping across the display. They bring 50 ships against our 300. Either they are incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. His officers laughed. Captain Rourke, a veteran of 15 campaigns, stepped forward. Commander, I reviewed the human military records. They have no major victories. No conquered territories. Their largest battle was against pirates 20 years ago. They won, but barely. What about their ship designs? Vex asked. Standard configuration. Nothing impressive. Their weapons are adequate but outdated compared to ours. Their shields are weak. Their armor is thin. I estimate we can destroy their entire fleet in under 2 hours. Vex nodded slowly. And their tactics? Rourke shrugged, a gesture that made his massive shoulders rise and fall like mountains. Defensive mostly. They seem to prefer negotiations over combat. In every recorded incident, they tried to talk first and fight only when necessary. They are soft, Commander. Peaceful by nature. Good, Vex said. Peaceful species are easy to break. Deploy our forces in the traditional wall formation. We will advance in overwhelming strength and crush them against the asteroids. Make it quick. Make it decisive. I want every species in the Council to see what happens when someone challenges Vraxian power. While the Vraxians celebrated their certain victory, Admiral Sujin stood in the human command center halfway across the galaxy. She was a woman in her 60s with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much combat. Around her, holographic screens displayed not just the current situation, but thousands of years of human history. Show them the timeline, she told her tactical officer. The screens flickered. Images appeared, ancient humans hunting massive beasts with simple spears. Early civilizations fighting with bronze swords. Medieval armies numbering in thousands. World wars involving millions. Nuclear weapons that could destroy cities in seconds. All of it was Earth's history, all of it was humanity's terrible education in the art of killing. Young Captain Miho watched the display with wide eyes. He had joined the space fleet only 5 years ago and had never seen actual combat. Admiral, is this all real? Did we really fight like this? Every war, every battle, every drop of blood, Sujin replied quietly. Humanity spent 10,000 years learning how to survive. We fought ice ages that should have killed us. We survived plagues that wiped out half our population. We created weapons so terrible we nearly destroyed ourselves 3 times. And we learned something that most peaceful species never understand. What is that, Admiral? We learned that the kindest people are often the deadliest. We choose peace because we know the cost of war. But when someone forces us to fight... She paused, her finger hovering over a button that would reveal humanity's true military strength. When someone forces us to fight, we remember everything our ancestors taught us. The screen changed. New data appeared, ships that were not in any public record. Weapons that humanity had developed but never revealed. Training programs that went far beyond standard council requirements. Miho's eyes grew wider. This is what we actually have. Admiral, this is 10 times what the council thinks we possess. 12 times, Sujin corrected. We never lied to the council. We answered every question they asked honestly. But we learned long ago that showing all your strength is foolish. We showed them enough to join, enough to be respected, but not enough to be feared. Until now. Lieutenant Hannah, the communications officer, spoke up. Admiral, the archivist just sent us a private message. They say they tried to warn the Vraxians. They told them to study our history before making threats. And did the Vraxians listen? No, Admiral. They laughed. Sujin allowed herself a thin smile. Then they will learn. Begin Operation Hidden Tiger. Move our concealed fleets into position. Activate all the platforms we installed in the Terminus Belt over the past 6 months. And send a message to all human vessels. What should the message say, Admiral? Tell them to remember Earth. Tell them to remember why we are kind, and why that makes us dangerous. Tell them that 30 days from now, we show the galaxy what humanity truly is. Across the command center, officers began working with quiet efficiency. No celebration. No boasting. Just focused preparation. Because humanity had learned long ago that the most dangerous hunter is the one that doesn't roar before attacking. The Vraxians prepared for a short, glorious victory. Humanity prepared for war. The Terminus Belt stretched across space like a frozen river of stone. Thousands of asteroids tumbled slowly in the darkness, some as small as houses, others as large as cities. It was beautiful in a cold, lifeless way. And today it would become a battlefield. Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the sensor display with satisfaction. 300 Vraxian warships moved in perfect formation, a massive wall of metal and firepower that had crushed every enemy they ever faced. Ahead of them, exactly where intelligence predicted, 50 human vessels waited. "They are not even trying to hide," Captain Rourke said with amusement. "Look at them. Sitting there like frightened children." Vex studied the human formation. The ships were smaller than Vraxian vessels, less armored, and they were not moving, just floating near a cluster of large asteroids as if waiting for death to arrive. "Open a channel," Vex commanded. "Let me speak to their commander." The screen flickered. A human woman appeared, old by their standards, with gray hair and tired eyes. She wore a simple uniform with the rank of admiral. "I am Admiral Sujin of the Earth Defense Fleet," she said calmly. "You must be Commander Vex." "Surrender now," Vex declared. "You are outnumbered 6-1. There is no shame in recognizing superior force. Withdraw your ships and we will let you live." Sujin tilted her head slightly as if considering his offer. Then she smiled, a small, strange smile that made Vex uncomfortable for reasons he could not explain. "Commander Vex, do you know what humanity calls your battle formation? We call it a target-rich environment. But thank you for making this easier. All ships, execute pattern Omega." The human vessels suddenly broke formation and scattered in different directions, diving between asteroids with surprising speed. Vex laughed. "They run. Forward. Pursue and destroy them all." The Vraxian fleet advanced, moving deeper into the asteroid field. Their sensors tracked the fleeing human ships. Victory was minutes away. Then the asteroids began to move. All around the Vraxian fleet, hundreds of rocks that had seemed natural suddenly activated. They were not asteroids, they were ships. Human ships with powered-down systems that had been waiting silently for weeks, disguised as space debris. Their engines flared to life. Their weapons came online. "Ambush!" Captain Rourke shouted. "There are ships everywhere. Sensors show 300, 500. Commander, there are over 700 human vessels." Vex stared in shock as the trap closed around him. The asteroids themselves became weapons. Hidden missile platforms that had been installed months ago fired in massive volleys. Small human fighters swarmed between the rocks like angry insects, too fast and too many to track. Larger human warships appeared from behind asteroids that had hidden them perfectly. "All ships, defensive formation," Vex commanded, but it was already too late. The Vraxian wall, designed for open space combat, was useless in the dense asteroid field. Ships collided with rocks trying to maneuver. The tight formation that was their strength became their prison. Human weapons struck with terrifying precision. They did not use the massive energy cannons that most species favored. Instead, they fired missiles that curved around obstacles, railguns that punched through armor at impossible speeds, and electromagnetic pulses that shut down shields and systems. Every weapon was chosen specifically to counter Vraxian defenses. How did they know? Rourke shouted over the alarm sirens. How did they know exactly how to fight us? Lieutenant Hannah's voice came through on the human command frequency, transmitted to all allied ships. "Because we studied you. We watched every battle you ever fought. We analyzed your tactics, your technology, your psychology. While you assumed we were weak, we were learning everything about you." The Vraxian flagship shuddered under multiple impacts. Half the fleet was already disabled or destroyed. The survivors tried to retreat, but human ships had cut off every escape route. They were trapped in a maze of asteroids and enemies. Vex watched his perfect wall crumble. His undefeated fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy he had underestimated completely. His pride had made him blind. His assumptions had made him foolish. Admiral Sujin appeared on his screen again. Her expression had not changed, still calm, still tired, still professional. "Commander Vex, I am offering you one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons. Evacuate your damaged ships. Or we will continue this battle until nothing remains of your fleet." Vex looked at the tactical display. 200 of his 300 ships were gone. The survivors were surrounded. He had no moves left. For the first time in his military career, Commander Vex understood what true defeat felt like. The Vraxians had challenged what they thought was prey. Instead, they had walked into the jaws of a predator that had been waiting patiently for them to make this exact mistake. The trap had sprung. And humanity had won. Commander Vex stared at the ruins of his fleet displayed on the flickering screens. 200 ships destroyed or disabled in less than 3 hours. The mighty Vraxian armada, undefeated for 2 centuries, had been torn apart by an enemy they thought was weak. The bridge was filled with smoke and the groans of injured crew members. "Commander, the humans are offering surrender terms again," his communications officer reported, blood trickling from a cut above his eye. Vex felt rage burning in his chest. Surrender? The Vraxian Empire had never surrendered. Not once in their entire history. His ancestors would curse his name if he became the first. "No," he growled. "We fight. Target the human command ship. All remaining vessels, full assault. If we die today, we die with honor." The surviving Vraxian warships, numbering just under 100, charged toward Admiral Sujin's flagship. Their weapons fired in desperate fury. They had nothing left to lose. But the human ships did not retreat. Instead, they moved closer, almost inviting the attack. Vex realized too late what was happening. They wanted him to commit to the assault. They wanted him close. "Boarding pods incoming," someone shouted. Dozens of small craft attached themselves to the Vraxian flagship like parasites. Cutting torches burned through the hull. Vex drew his combat blade, a weapon every Vraxian warrior carried. If the humans wanted his ship, they would have to take it from his dead hands. The bulkhead exploded inward. Human soldiers poured through the breach wearing heavy combat armor. Vex expected them to be smaller, weaker. They were smaller, yes, but they moved with a speed and coordination that shocked him. They did not charge blindly. They used covering fire, leapfrog advances, and tactical positions. Captain Rourke rushed forward with a war cry, his massive form towering over the human soldiers. A human sergeant, a man named Juno, sidestepped the attack with practiced ease and fired a burst into Rourke's leg joint. The Vraxian captain crashed down. Before he could rise, 3 more humans had him surrounded and restrained. "Secure the prisoner," Juno ordered calmly. "Medical team, keep him alive. Move forward, second squad." Vex watched in disbelief. The humans fought nothing like the council species. They used grenades that bounced around corners. They set traps in corridors. When wounded, they did not fall back. They fought harder as if pain made them more dangerous. And their teamwork was flawless, each soldier moving like a single part of a larger organism. A Vraxian warrior nearly twice the size of any human charged at Juno. The human did not try to match strength against strength. Instead, he dropped low, swept the Vraxian's legs, and as the warrior fell, Juno's partner delivered a stunning blow with an electrified baton. The massive warrior collapsed, twitching. "That is the 4th one," another human soldier said. "Remember the briefing. Vraxians have thick skulls but their nervous systems are similar to ours. Hit the nerve clusters." They had studied everything. Even Vraxian biology. Even the weak points in Vraxian anatomy that most Vraxians did not know themselves. Vex backed toward the command center, his remaining guards forming a protective circle. The human soldiers advanced slowly, methodically. They were not rushing. They were not emotional. They were just efficient. Like machines designed specifically to fight Vraxians. A young human soldier, a woman named Yuri, noticed Vex through the smoke. She raised her weapon but did not fire. Instead, she spoke into her communicator. "Target confirmed. Commander Vex is alive. Requesting permission to capture." "Permission granted," came Admiral Sujin's voice. "We want him alive. All prisoners are to be treated according to the Galactic Convention on Warfare." Vex laughed bitterly. "You speak of conventions? You fight like assassins, not warriors. You use tricks and deception. Where is your honor?" Juno stepped forward, removing his helmet. His face was young but his eyes were old. "Honor? Commander, we are fighting exactly as you forced us to. You declared war. You brought 300 ships to crush 50. You chose violence over diplomacy. Now you complain that we fight to win." Another explosion rocked the ship. More human soldiers poured in. Vex realized the battle was over. His guards were being systematically disabled and captured, not killed, captured. The humans wanted prisoners. "Why do you not kill us?" Vex demanded. "We would have shown you no mercy." Juno met his eyes. "Because we are not you. We choose to be better. But do not mistake our mercy for weakness, Commander. We are kind because we can afford to be kind. We are peaceful because we understand the cost of war better than any species in this galaxy. But when you force us to fight, we remember 10,000 years of survival. We remember what we truly are." The last of Vex's guards fell. Human soldiers surrounded him, weapons trained but not firing. One of them produced restraints. "Commander Vex of the Vraxian Empire," Admiral Sujin's voice came through the speakers. "You are now a prisoner of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your surviving crews will be treated well, your wounded will receive medical care, and you will be returned home after this conflict ends. That is our promise." Vex allowed them to restrain him. As they led him away, he finally understood the terrible truth. Humans were not warriors like the Vraxians. They were something far more dangerous. They were survivors who had learned to hunt, to adapt, to win at any cost. And they had been hiding that nature behind friendly smiles and diplomatic words. The Vraxians had challenged sheep and found wolves. 3 weeks had passed since the battle at the Terminus Belt. The Galactic Council chamber was filled to capacity. Every species wanted to witness this historic session. The silence was absolute as Ambassador Hyun walked to the central platform, his footsteps echoing in the vast space. Commander Vex sat in the audience section reserved for observers, no longer in chains but wearing simple civilian clothes. His wounds had healed, courtesy of human medical care that was surprisingly advanced. Beside him sat the 93 other Vraxian officers who had survived the battle. They had all been treated well, fed properly, and allowed to contact their families. It confused them greatly. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Hyun began, his voice calm and clear. 3 weeks ago, the Vraxian Empire challenged humanity to military confrontation over the Terminus Belt. The battle lasted 4 hours. The results are now public record. Holographic displays activated throughout the chamber, showing the statistics. 300 Vraxian warships engaged. 237 disabled or destroyed. 63 captured intact. Human losses, 18 ships damaged, 0 ships destroyed, 43 personnel killed, 112 wounded. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Merchant Alliance representatives were already calculating new trade agreements. The peaceful assembly delegates looked horrified at the casualty numbers. And species that had territorial disputes with humanity were suddenly very quiet. "However," Hyun continued, "we are not here to celebrate victory. We are here to ensure this never happens again. With the Council's permission, I would like to show you something. A presentation about Earth and humanity. So that everyone understands exactly who we are." The lights dimmed. The holographic displays changed. Images of Earth appeared, a beautiful blue planet covered in oceans and green continents. Then the images changed, showing Earth's history in rapid sequence. Massive glaciers covering continents. Early humans huddling in caves, fighting just to survive the cold. Then fire, humanity's first tool against the darkness. Then weapons, sharp stones, wooden spears, tools designed to kill prey much larger and stronger than themselves. The timeline advanced. Early civilizations building cities, then destroying them in wars. Bronze Age armies numbering in thousands clashing on battlefields. Iron Age empires rising and falling. Then the terrible acceleration, gunpowder weapons, cannons, rifles. Wars that killed millions. Industrialized warfare with machines designed solely for destruction. Young Captain Miho narrated the presentation from the human section, his voice steady but sad. "This is what shaped humanity. For 10,000 years we fought. Not because we wanted to, but because our planet forced us to evolve this way. Ice ages that should have killed us. Predators that hunted us. Plagues that wiped out entire populations. And our greatest enemy, ourselves." The images showed the world wars of Earth's 20th century. Cities burning. Nuclear explosions. Entire nations mobilized for total war. The council chamber was completely silent now, every species watching in stunned horror. "We nearly destroyed ourselves 3 times, Miho continued. "We created weapons that could end all life on our planet. And at the edge of extinction we made a choice. We chose peace. Not because we were weak but because we finally understood the cost of war. We built a unified government. We eliminated poverty and hunger. We reached for the stars. And when we joined your council, we hoped we had left our violent past behind." The display changed again, showing the recent battle. Human tactics, strategy, and technology displayed in detail. Every species could now see exactly how humanity had defeated the Vraxians so completely. Admiral Sujin stood and walked to the platform beside Hyun. "We did not want this war," she said quietly. "We tried diplomacy first. We offered to share the Terminus Belt resources. But when war was forced upon us, we fought with everything we learned from 10,000 years of survival. We are not proud of our history. But we understand it. And we use that understanding to protect ourselves." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We returned the Vraxian ships. We healed their wounded. We treated prisoners with dignity. Because that is who we chose to become. But make no mistake, if threatened again we will respond the same way. We are the galaxy's friendliest species but only because we choose to be. Do not make us choose otherwise." The archivists descended from their observation platform, something they rarely did. The eldest spoke in a voice like wind through ancient trees. The Galactic Council hereby updates humanity's classification. From this day forward, Earth and its colonies are designated as a major species with full territorial rights. Furthermore, we issue a formal warning to all member species. Humanity has demonstrated both capacity for violence and choice for peace. Respect both. Ambassador Hyun bowed respectfully. We seek only to live in peace, to trade fairly, and to contribute to galactic society. But we will defend ourselves and our allies without hesitation. We offer friendship to all who offer friendship to us. Commander Vex stood slowly. The chamber turned to look at him. He walked to the platform, his massive frame towering over the humans, but his posture was no longer arrogant. It was respectful. The Vraxian Empire formally apologizes, he said, each word clearly painful for him to speak. We challenged humanity out of pride and ignorance. We assumed kindness meant weakness. We were wrong. We have learned this lesson at great cost. We withdraw all territorial claims and will honor the human boundaries. He looked directly at Admiral Sujin. You could have destroyed us completely. You chose mercy instead. That is true strength. The strength we never understood. As the council session ended, species began approaching the human delegation, not with threats, but with genuine offers of friendship and trade. The aggressive empires quietly canceled their expansion plans near human space. Peace had been secured not through surrender, but through a demonstration of controlled power. That evening, Admiral Sujin stood alone in the observation deck of her flagship, looking at Earth through the window. The blue planet seemed so peaceful from here. So beautiful. It was hard to believe such a violent history had created such a gentle people. We bought ourselves 200 years of peace, Lieutenant Hannah said, joining her at the window. Maybe more. Yes, Sujin agreed. Because they finally understand. We are persistence hunters who learn patience. We are pack predators who learn cooperation. We are survivors who learned mercy. And that combination makes us the most dangerous species in the galaxy, not in spite of our kindness but because of it. She touched the window gently. They challenged us expecting wolves. They forgot that we are the species that tamed wolves and made them into our best friends. Imagine what we could do to anyone who threatens our pack. In the darkness of space, humanity's fleet stood watch, peaceful guardians who would remain peaceful until the moment they chose not to be. And the galaxy had finally learned to respect that choice.